Good evening, Facebook friends. It is 9:45 Central Time. I thought tonight might be a nice time to do a little bit of live drawing. Hope that people are well. I started doodling a little bit earlier, and then I thought I should probably just draw this as a live stream. Who knows how many people are out there actually paying attention, but it doesn't matter. Even if just a few people show up, that's all good. But anyways, here I am. I really liked the last narrative exploration live stream, I guess. As I was thinking through different parts of art, reflecting on Bob Ross, reflecting on lessons I have learned from Bob Ross. So I thought, hey, let's just do another one. There's a lot of tumultuous stuff going on out there in the social media world, whether it's political, social, or whatnot. And I think for tonight, let's just hang out and draw and color. And not that we should ignore the things that are going on in the world, but I think sometimes it's okay to relax, to just enjoy the company of friends, and I figure why not do that tonight. And I think sometimes I like to hide the exploration phase. Sometimes in the past when I've done live streams, art live streams, I will often have already figured out the sketch. And I think partly that I do that because I don't want to bore people. But I've definitely found recently that more people are interested in seeing the exploration phase. So that part's good. I like that. So I had an idea in my head for a piece of art, and now I'm finding it in a similar Bob Ross fashion, and a lot of artists do this. This isn't unique to him or myself, but the act of drawing often gives you the moment. It gives you time to find the illustration, to find the art, to find the experience, or to find the emotion, or the art form, I guess. It was kind of fun. My wife said she started looking for my live streams now, because I mean, even though she's literally 30 feet away upstairs, I do not necessarily go out of my way to like tell her, Jeff, hello Manny, curious about that too. Drawing tools, installations. Sure. I mean, what you're looking at here, Jeff, is a program called Clip Studio Paint. And Clip Studio Paint is the primary drawing tool I use on my PC. A lot of artists use Photoshop. I am not a fan of Photoshop illustration. I do not prefer it. But I use Photoshop, and I use the Illustrator. I use Illustrator, and I use InDesign for my work. But that's actually mainly because everyone else uses those programs, so I'm kind of forced to use them. I am. Let's see if I can do this successfully here, and then put the camera back. You'll see here that hopefully I'll get a response to my actual. There you go. The stream is slightly lagged from behind. So you'll see this is my workstation. I use a Cintiq, a Wacom Cintiq. And this is the drawing pen. So I'm drawing on my monitor. And the Wacom Cintiq allows me to just draw on my monitor like it's a canvas. And really, outside of that, Clip Studio Paint, my Wacom pen, and monitor, I sometimes also draw using my iPad Pro. And I love using my iPad. It's my favorite drawing tool, above and beyond using my computer with a Wacom stylus. On my iPad, I use a program called Procreate, and that is, again, as I previously stated, that is arguably my favorite program to draw with. It's my favorite design tool, drawing illustration tool. Yes, Jeff. So this is specifically on the monitor. Now, there are plenty of people that operate with a Wacom, like an Intuos tablet, and that's what you're talking about. So it's just like a rectangle, and it sits down in front of your computer, and you kind of do what like the old school, like blind contour, where you would draw looking forward, but your pen is down here, so you're not seeing what you're drawing. You're looking at the result on the monitor itself. I worked on that for years, and there are many artists I know. There are many artists that still work that way. It's and partly it's a comfort level, and partly it's a cost thing. I think there are some artists that choose to use the Wacom Intuos tablets, even though it is not better. And it's an interesting phenomenon, because what I've heard a lot of artists say is they're like, well, if I draw on the monitor, then my hand is in the way. And it's an interesting response, because your hand is in the way when you draw on paper. Your hand is in the way when you paint on canvas. Your hand is in the way when you sculpt, when you paint, when you do anything. But for some reason, when you go from the Intuos tablet to an actual drawing monitor like this, the first reaction is, my hand's in the way. Like it's like my hand is blocking what I'm looking at. And what artist actually like puts their head behind their pen? No one does that. You move to the side, you rotate, you move your art over to one side of the canvas, you push it back, you do whatever, right? You do what you need to do to be able to successfully navigate your art. And I think that's a hurdle that's easily gotten over. And the truth is, it used to be a cost issue. A lot of people would complain that Wacom was really the only player in the game for years. And because they were the only player, the cost of a Wacom tablet or monitor like this, these are like $1,500, $2,500. These were so stinking expensive at one point. And they still are that expensive. But you can now get this same monitor. Not the same, but you can get a drawing monitor for a few $100s, which is literally the same as you would pay for an Intuos tablet. So I feel like the cost, unless people are like, but Wacom's so much better. And Wacom is really good, but it's not substantially better anymore than the Huyans or the XP pens, which are really, those are the two main better ones. Want to respond only to your pen and not your fingers. This one specifically is a pen-only display. There are some displays that are hand and pen. I don't prefer those, even though when I use my iPad, the fact that I can use hand and pen on my iPad is actually one of the benefits. So I think that really it's all about the technology behind it and how successful the companies are at integrating the palm rejection, finger rejection into their drawing monitor. Wacom does a very good job of doing that. Other ones require like a glove. Like there are certain drawing tablet monitor things. You basically want to have a glove, and if you don't, it definitely makes it harder. And I think that that often also throws a lot of people off because they're like, but my hand is touching it. Well, your hand doesn't have to touch it, and it doesn't have to be a negative. But I definitely recommend even the iPads. There's the iPad Air. There's the iPad entry level one. I forget what it's called, but it's like $329 for this entry level iPad, and it uses a first generation pencil from Apple, and it is exquisite. It's an amazing drawing tool, and on top of it being an amazing drawing tool, it's $300 or $400 for an iPad that you can draw on. It actually creates it's a really outstanding device. So, anyways, there's lots of really cool options out there now. It's keeping up with the technology is always difficult because there's so many options for cool tech, and it's ever evolving, right? There's never a one size fits all. Like a couple years ago, it used to be that the Wacom competitors, they were just trash. There was no getting around it. You would draw with them, and the art was it was like the drawing monitor was fighting you the entire time you were painting and working in it. And I think that I think that did a lot of damage to anyone trying to explore alternatives to Wacom technology. If you were willing to muddy through it and do your best to, excuse me, I have kind of a congestion in my throat. If you were willing to muddy your way through it, you could potentially create despite the tool. But, I mean, come on, who really wants to have to fight their tool just to make art? Art is sometimes hard enough. You don't want your tools fighting you in the process. I know I don't. I don't think any artist is specifically going out of their way hoping that their tool will cause them more problems. But anyways, I hope that helps, Jeff. Always feel free to ask questions. I'm but a digital message away. I'm happy to help. I feel like there's really no secrets, especially in digital art. What can you hide? I mean, the truth is I use layers and I draw with a pen, and that pen makes marks, and those marks create a character or a piece of art or whatever. So I know there are plenty of artists that do have a sense of proprietariness to their art, and I have to confess that I don't really understand that mindset. I mean, maybe way back in the day there was some validity to a person who created a way of blending linseed oil with paint thinner or something like that, and that special technique is what gave them the right to work with the church or whatever and do different paid work. But I mean, nowadays we're basically all just, I mean, most of the artists are just digital artists getting by. Is the fact that drawing directly in an app and see the final result faster feels now better than using a piece of paper and regular pen? No, it does. It's not that it feels better. I've actually been wrestling with that very question because I have for a long time felt that digital art was better, but what it misses is it lacks that raw feeling, the rawness, the pure art form. And it's not that digital art is inferior. It's that I think sometimes artists, myself included, we hide behind the digital art. We hide behind the ability to make clean lines, clean up our art more quickly. And so I feel like I've been trying to make a more concerted effort recently that I am going to up my physical art as well. And so I've been trying to figure out a way to do live streams and stream art that way as well, because I don't want to lose that, and I'll be sharing more of the physical, tangible art, inking in the future as well. But if I'm being honest right now, this is my comfort spot, working just like this, using Clip Studio, Procreate. I feel at home, and I have gotten to a point now where my art I can create fast enough using these tools to create full pieces in a very short period of time. And if I'm being honest, that's very appealing, partly as a producer of content, but also from, as an artist, I'm always trying to make more. I'm always trying to be more creative. I'm trying to be more productive. And if a tool can assist in that, why fight it? Why choose to not use these tools? But I think part of it, of course, is that I sometimes hide behind those tools. And that's the part I need to stop. I need to stop hiding behind the tool. Even here, like I'm trying not to be as perfect with the line, and almost ink with the same heart of inking on paper, which is the attitude of, all right, it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's throw some lines down on this paper. Let's be bold with our movements. Let's, as Bob Ross would say, let's discover the ink drawing. Let's find those happy accidents. I definitely have not wanted to find happy accidents. I've wanted to be super productive and super efficient, and I think ultimately, that has hurt my art a little bit. Is that desire to be productive has caused to cause my art to suffer is probably an over dramatization, because I don't think it suffers from it, but I do think that there is the potential for art to become colder, less personal, a little more stale maybe. The more an artist relies on those digital effects, digital actions, the digital shorthand. One of my favorite aspects of using Procreate is the fact that Procreate lets me have these assisted rulers, so it'll help me make straight lines. And if your hand has ever been wobbly when drawing, you know the power in having a ruler or a tool that allows for straight line drawing. That's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And I think that it also creates, it creates a laziness at first, because the laziness stems from me I just don't want to have to work harder at it. I'm trying to be productive. I'm trying to be efficient, meet deadlines, hit goals. And that desire to meet and hit goals, I think sometimes causes me to be lazy with my art and with my art form. And I have to be careful there, because I'm not calling artists lazy who use digital art, because, for crying out loud, I use digital art all the time. It's my main mode of creating. And so I'd be calling myself, lazy and stupid or whatever. And that's not the point. The point is I think a friend of mine in Spokane, he was sharing with me that the late, great Neil Peart, the drummer for the band Rush, he hit a stage in his career, illustrious career. I think if you are familiar with Neil Peart, you would probably agree, or maybe someone would agree, that he is arguably one of the greatest drummers who has ever existed. And he is gone. He died. But I think there reached a point when he was older. I think he might have been in his 50s. I'm speculating. I don't remember the story exactly. But he reached a point in his artistic drumming career where he said, you know what? I'm going to throw everything away that I've learned. I'm going to get rid of all of it, and I'm going to start over fresh again. I'm going to relearn how to play the drums. I'm going to relearn how to be a musician. And all I could think is, well, how on earth does a man at that level, how does he do that? How would someone legitimately, awesome fan of Rush? I love Rush. I went to a concert when I was in high school. I was 17, 18. I went to a Primus Rush concert. And I felt so bad. I loved Primus. I still do. But Primus opened for Rush. And the audience was so not interested in listening to Primus. And I get it. They're definitely an acquired taste. But I felt like, oh, you're disrespecting Les Claypool. You're disrespecting an amazing band. You know, but this was like 94, I think, 94, 95. So Primus wasn't super established or super old at that point. Anyways, I digress. The point of the story was, I think as artists, I think the natural tendency to become lazy or to find something that works and then stick with it. And in the whole, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality of art. I'm a big comic book fan. I love comic books. Jim Lee is arguably one of my favorite comic book artists. He was instrumental in me even starting to become a comic book artist. And I still love Jim Lee, but if I were going to complain about Jim Lee, a man who doesn't need my complaints or my attitude, he definitely doesn't need my advice. But his art, I feel like Jim Lee has gotten lazy. And I think he got lazy not because he wanted to get lazy. I think he got lazy because he didn't need to push anymore. There was no requirement for him to find himself over and over, for him to discover his craft, to push himself to new heights. And when you're no longer forced to push yourself, yeah, I know he lost his wife and daughter and made that huge road trip. I remember reading all about that and watching. There was a documentary I watched about him as well. Your English is just fine, Jeff. But he started over after that. Yep, it's quite the story. But I remember thinking, as I watched Jim Lee and his art not mature, I felt like Jim Lee plateaued artistically. And again, as an outsider, it's easy to look in and be like, Jim Lee is not as awesome as he could be. I mean, the man sold millions of comic books when he started Image Comics. He became a millionaire when he was just a young man making comic books. So what is Jim Lee has nothing to prove to me or anybody for that matter. But I think one of the things I want to be careful with as I get older and start to feel like, have I peaked visually, artistically? I don't want to peak artistically. I want to grow and change. I've shared it before, but one of my personal struggles with Dice Throne is that Dice Throne art was created out of a necessity to go faster, to be more productive, to be more creative, or not more creative, to be more efficient at manufacturing of art and design. And so whenever I look at Dice Throne art, I see an incomplete art form. I see an incomplete visual. Now, that doesn't make the art bad. I've actually grown to really love, and in fact, even the art I'm making right now is very much an inspiration or taken from it is the Dice Throne technique, if I had to give it a label, right? There's a technique to this, and that technique is successful. People enjoy it. The fans seem to really like it. I like it, but it's an interesting thing because when I look at my art, I see incomplete art. And that is something that would drive a man crazy. Hey, Lois. I'm glad I can help educate you on how drawing happened on a computer screen. Now you know something in. That's awesome. It's great to see you here, Lois. But yeah, I think there's that, like how, as I get older, as I teach my boys about things in this life, you know, as you find success, as you find different, I don't know, everyone has a different measure of success, right? And so as you find these things, explore them, and you find, I don't know, solutions is the wrong word, but you find ways to produce. You find ways to work. And those ways start to work, and they start to be productive and efficient. They help you to accomplish goals. They help you do all kinds of stuff, right? Well, and as you get those, the tendency is to become lazy. The tendency is to start to allow those things to be okay at the level that they're at and not push to be better. Thanks, Jeff. Often the case with Kickstarter, it forces you to go fast. Yeah, Kickstarter has its own hurdles, its own issues. Obviously I owe my current career to the start of Kickstarter, or not start, but using Kickstarter for comic books first and then for a board game. And I think that's a crucial part of my career as an artist. So let's see here. I want to do something. I'm almost done with this piece, I think, for tonight. But I wanted to do something kind of fun here. This is a neat way to work. You can create this symmetrical brush. And this is where the power, like finding the power in tools, is super beneficial. Where what you can do, I don't need to have this selected. What I can do is I can create a symmetrical brush that allows me the ability to create a mirrored art thing, right? So if you think back on ancient old masters who were trying to create symmetrical images, they didn't have tools like this. And so as they were painting, they were forced to repaint or recreate or redo on each side. I think about one of my favorite artists, Alphonse Mucha, and the fact that he has these pieces, and so many people they look at his art as if it is this kind of a mirrored background pattern. Yeah, no problem, Jeff. Always don't ever hesitate to ask questions, and I'm happy to help. I feel like I am where I am because people were willing to help me as well. So why keep artistic secrets, right? There's no benefit in it, I don't think. But there's this neat way where you can have this mirrored background, and I think it's such a funky, cool way to work, where you create these unique backgrounds or patterning, right? I love the Art Nouveau, Art Deco, specifically the Art Nouveau movement, the interesting swirled pattern stuff that can be made. It's just such an interesting thing. But anyways, I think that's part of, like, recently I've shared some more hand-drawn ink stuff, and I intend to keep that up. But in so doing, I think partly I'm doing that because I want my digital art to be better, more expressive. I want it to have more feeling, more emotion. I think, to me, art that lacks emotion feels empty. And only a few times in my life have I really made art that kind of made me feel like it lacked that emotional quality. So we're going to dim this down just a little bit. I don't want it to be too hot. Hey, Troy. I'm amazed that you nearly never erase anything. That is true. I don't do a lot of erasing. And part of that just comes with repetition and lots of trying, lots of redoing things over and over throughout my life. And it also comes with a certain amount of freedom within the digital world, right? You get a sense of freedom because I have undo, and that undo button is very potent. It's a very powerful tool. And so when you're working in a traditional form, there's a little bit more fear. I'm going to do a really unfair comparison and say drawing on paper is like the artistic version of free soloing. And if you're not familiar with free soloing is climbing mountains without a rope, right? So I'm never going to be a mountain climber. That's for dang sure. But the idea of free soloing is such a unique. I'm sure it's a unique rush that I will never experience because I don't want to. So instead, I will free solo a piece of paper. I'll free solo it. And so that's part of like showing the stuff and hanging out, and I think that there's a lot of benefit in that for people. I think just like I watched the documentary Free Solo, Alex Honnold, the like world-class climber, and I watched it knowing that he succeeded. He free soloed El Capitan, and I think it's in Yellowstone or in Wyoming. I don't know. But his free soloing of that was this epic, like incredible journey. And in watching that, I think there was that feeling of, wow, I can't believe this guy does this. I can't believe he functions like this. How does he function like this? How does anyone function like that? Like that's a level of madness. And I think and again, I'm not. This isn't life or death. Like free soloing a mountain is basically you've decided that today is okay for you to die, right? And that's not cool. I do not endorse nor support that as a life choice, especially like for myself as a dad and a husband. Like I value my children and I want to spend time with them, and I realize that any day could be the last day, right? But I'd rather today not be the last day because I really enjoy watching my boys play and run and experience life, and that stuff is so awesome to me that I'm not going to skydive. It's not in the cards. Yes, I could get hit by a car tomorrow. I could ride my bike, and who knows what can happen. But anyway, so yeah, this is it's fun. I can see Troy Graham. I don't know if he's still in here, but he might be. Troy and I have been drawing loosely together like we've known each other for over 20 years, and Troy is I'm gonna gush for a minute. Troy is one of my favorite artists. Troy has a brilliant sense of design and character creation, and he and I have. There's been many a night where he and I have talked about the world of comic books, and we've commiserated about the industry and making our own sweet comics, and they've never panned out. We've never actually produced one, but we've had many a wonderful late night talking and planning and daydreaming. And Troy has been an inspiration to me over the years. So anyways, you guys get to see that Troy Graham is here hanging out with us. And he is an amazing guy and an awesome artist and an inspiration to me. Thank you, Troy. But anyway, so we're coming to the end of this drawing, I think, for today. Let's have a little bit of fun with the background here. As some people have known that I talk about, I want to glow things up a little bit. And this is definitely the part of my art. This is one of the parts of the art where I start to, I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for something that looks really sweet. And so, whoa. See, there you go. I made a mistake. There you go, Jeff. I want it to glow, but I also want it to recede just a little bit from the character. I don't want it to overpower the character. And I think that that's an important aspect to it. Teach you the art of speed draw. I hate to say it, man, but the secret is draw all the time. And then, like, I had a family, and my family was basically like, I felt like, oh no, I have no more time to draw, which wasn't true. It's just how it felt right in the moment. But in that moment of feeling like I had no time, that's when I started creating like a lot of different content, comic books and assorted things. And so I think that need to create, despite the fact that I had no time, was a big proponent. I remember the first time I did 24-hour comic day, and I struggled like crazy to produce. Oops, wrong one. I struggled to produce the comic that I wanted to make in the period of time that I had available to me. It was like 24 hours. I think I did 24 pages, and yes, please do save it. Know that I have made an error. I had to erase slightly. So let's all remember, shall we, the moment where I put the wrong line down and I had to erase it. I'm just adding a little bit of texture into the background. I like to monkey up the art, the background, or add a little bit of grit and tooth to the art, and I think that it adds a nice quality. 'Cause I think there's a certain anime-ness or cartooniness to the art, and adding that just little extra touch of texture in front of and over the top of art, it adds atmosphere. And I like that. So, but anyways, yeah, finishing projects is a big deal, Troy. You and I have always, we've talked a lot about how that's a, are we going to finish what we started? Are we going to make what we set out to make? And it's hard. It's a hard thing. I know that I have fought, and it's interesting. I'm working on a project for work right now, and the fun part of the work is going on right now. We're in like the sweet spot, and that sweet spot of creating and designing it's easy, and easy is relative, right? It's not that it's seamless, but that ease comes from just the fact that I'm doing the part that is most fun. But once you actually get into the nitty-gritty, the editing text, having to put icons and things, or start the minutia, that's where it gets rough. Well, anyways, I think we're good. I'm gonna save this because I have not saved it. That would be lesson number 1: is don't work in such a way as to not save your work, because that seems weird. But anyways, thanks guys for hanging out. We'll talk to you later.